Welcome to Art History with Jackie. Today, we will be looking at the life of Yayoi Kusama, a Japanese contemporary artist known for her extensive patterns and dots. Yayoi is an artist who suffers from several mental illnesses, but rather than letting these hinder her, she has used them to inform her artwork. She has been acknowledged as one of the most important living artists to come out of Japan. Kusama was born in 1929 in Matsumoto, Nagano. She began creating art at a very early age. However, her merchant parents were not supportive of her creative endeavors. Kusama's mother, in particular, was discouraging of her art and would take it away from her when she saw Yayoi working. Her mother was also physically abusive, and her father was a womanizer, both of which would affect Yayoi greatly throughout her life. Yayoi has recollected how her mother used to send her to spy on her father's extramarital affairs, which instilled in her a lifelong contempt for sexuality, which comes out in her work. When Yayoi was 10 years old, she began to experience hallucinations in which she would see dense fields of dots. She would often envision patterns in fabric starting to come to life. These patterns and visions would engulf her, a process which she has come to call self-obliteration. Kusama's art became her escape from her family and her own mind. When Kusama was 13, she was sent to work in a military factory where she was tasked with sewing and fabricating parachutes for the Japanese army, at that point in the midst of World War II. She then went on to study Nihonga painting at the Kyoto Municipal School of Arts and Crafts in 1948. She didn't enjoy this distinctly Japanese style and quickly became interested in European and American avant-garde. Kusama achieved early success in Japan between the years of 1950 and 1956. She began covering surfaces, walls, floors, canvases, and household objects with the polka dots from her hallucinations. This would become a trademark of her work. After living in Tokyo and France, Kusama moved to New York in 1957. There, she quickly established her reputation as a leader in the avant-garde movement and received praise for her work. In the early 1960s, she began to cover household items with white phallic protrusions. These were her way of working through the childhood trauma caused by her father's infidelity and her disillusionment with sex and the male figure. Since 1963, Kusama has worked on her series, Mirror/Infinity Rooms. These are complex infinity mirror installations. Purpose-built rooms with lined mirrored glass contain scores of neon-colored balls hanging at various heights above the viewer. Standing inside on a small platform, an observer sees light repeatedly reflected off the mirrored surfaces to create the illusion of a never-ending space. Kusama continued to spark controversy throughout the 60s and 70s through her happenings and avant-garde pieces before returning to Japan in 1973. Kusama returned to Japan because her health was declining. She checked herself into a psychiatric hospital where she has been living since. She walks to her studio every day and returns to the hospital to sleep at night. Kusama continues to create pieces in her signature style, always outraging and enthralling her viewers. Thank you and see you next week.